Okay, we are on page 323, the independent practice for lesson 11.4. Again, pause the video, try as many of these as you can, then press play and check and see if you did them correctly. Number 6, which of the following numbers are solutions to x is greater than or equal to 0? And then it gives us some numbers to try. Well, before we even try that, I want to go ahead and graph what they gave us so we can see on a number line what our answers should look like. Well, if we have 0, and we know that x could be greater than or equal to 0, if I'm going to color this in, I say 0 could be a solution, so that's a filled in circle, and x could be anything greater than that, so x could be anything over here. So now it should be easy for me to look at these example problems and see if they would work or not. If I look at the first one, -5, I know -5 would be way down here. So -5 is not a solution. 300ths, even though it's a small number, it's bigger than 0, it's going to be over here. So 300ths could be a solution. -1 is going to be just shy of 0. So no, -1 could not be a solution. Could 0 be a solution? Well, yeah. It told us x could be greater than or equal to 0, so 0 is fine. 1 could be a solution because it's just 1 right after that. And I guess that was actually 1.5, and 1.5 would work too because it'd be right here. Right here. -6 would be way down here on this left side, so -6 would not work. And half would be just between 0 and 1, so that would work too. So our examples of what would work for our answers here, x could be equal to 300ths, 0, 1.5, and 1/2 written as a fraction. Those are our possible answers there. Oh, sorry, I wish I could get that to scooch down. You've got it. All right, number 7, graph each inequality. We see that t is less than or equal to 8. So that means when I go to 8, I know t could be 8, so that's going to be a filled in circle. And then it's going to be less than or equal to, so it's any of these numbers down here, less than. Number 8, -7 is less than h. So in this case, h can't be -7. It has to be an open circle there, because it can't be -7, and h is bigger than anything because -7 is less than that. So h can be anything that's going to be bigger than -7. That'd be anything. All right, number 9. X is greater than or equal to -9. Again, if it says or equal to, we know it could be that number, so we can go to -9 and make a filled in circle because it could be -9. And then x is greater than that or equal to, so anything greater than -9 would work for x, so we color in the right side. Okay, number 10. N is greater than 2.5. And so in this number line, we can see there's actually lines between the whole numbers. Those are going to be for the halves, right? We'd have 1.5, 2, 2.5, 3. So if n is greater than 2.5, it can't be 2.5. So at 2.5, I'd have to make an open circle. But it could be anything bigger than 2.5. So I would color in the right-hand side. All right, number 11. -4.5 is greater than x. So I find 4.5. I know it can't be x, so it's an open circle. And it's going to be bigger. -4.5 is bigger than anything x could be. So x would have to be anything smaller, which we know smaller numbers are on the left. All right, we are done with that top portion. Let's go on to the bottom. Again, pause if you can, solve, and then check your answers. Write an inequality that matches the number line model. Now, when we write an inequality, there's 3 things that we need to think about. We need a variable. right? A letter. We need an inequality symbol, greater than or equal to, any of those. And then the graph is going to show us what number we're working with. So for these, I'm just going to use x every single time. I'm going to say x, and I know I'm dealing with 6. So x and 6. Now I have to come up with the inequality that goes with that situation. Well, I see x is going to be able to be any of these blue highlighted numbers. So x is going to be bigger than 6, but I have to decide, can it be 6? Well, it can't, because 6 is an open circle. In this instance, x has to be bigger than 6, and that's it. So 13, again, a variable, I'll say x. The number shown on the graph, which is 3, that's where the graph is, the highlighting is starting. Now I think of my inequality symbol. X can be any of those numbers that are in the blue, but it could also be 3. So I know there's going to be that equal part. And I look and say x has to be less than that. So 3 is actually bigger than it, so the alligator eats the 3. X is less than or equal to -3. Number 14, here's my variable. I look at the graph and say, okay, it's at 1.5. So I can write that 1.5. I see it's an open circle, so x can't be 1.5, but it's anything smaller than 1.5. X is less than 1.5. Number 15, there's my variable. I see on the graph, it starts at -3.5. I can write that -3.5. And x is bigger than that, right? The highlighted part tells me what the variable could be, and it's bigger than -3.5. So x has to be greater than, but it also, because it's filled in, it could be greater than or equal to. That's kind of a bad writing of that. Let me try again. X can be greater than or equal to -3.5. All right, let's do the last one on this page, number 16. It says a child must be at least 48 inches tall to ride a roller coaster. When you read those words, at least, that should be like a little signal to you. At least. Can they be taller than it? Yep. Can they be shorter than it? Nope. Could they be 48 inches? Yes, because that's at least. So write and graph an inequality to represent the situation. Again, I'm talking about a child has to be 48 inches tall. So maybe I choose my variable to be C for child. And the child has to be something dealing with 48 inches. And in this case, it tells us they have to be at least 48 inches. So they could be equal to it, but they have to be bigger than it or equal to it. So there's our inequality. Child is greater than or equal to 48 inches. And when I graph it, I know they can be 48 inches, so I make a filled in circle, but they could be anything taller than that. So I can fill it in anywhere over here. All right, part B. Can a child who is 46 inches tall ride the roller coaster? Well, if I know the child can be anything in this highlighted blue area, and they're asking me about a child down here that's not in, they're 46, they're not in the highlighted area, then no, they can't ride the roller coaster. So no, 46 is not greater than or equal to 48. And that's what they said they had to be. They had to be greater than or equal to 48. 46 isn't, so they can't ride. All right, we are done with 323. Good job.